My father is the supreme golden divine dragon. My mother is the frost moon great dragon, and I am a divine dragon hatchling, a lineage rarely seen in a millennium. Yet my own kin sought only to devour us, all because I have an older brother. It is the nature of the true dragon race that a single clutch should produce but one offspring. To bear more is to invite the strong to consume the weak. The draconic radiance upon my scales was not as brilliant as my brother's. Thus, I became the target to be discarded. Though my parents chose not to devour me themselves, they cast me into the most perilous abyss, the dungeon, to fend for myself. Falling past the first level of the dungeon, I witnessed countless monsters lurking in the shadows. Level 10, level 20. I plummeted until I finally struck the earth at the 60th level. Here lay a dense, overgrown forest, where colossal leaves cushioned the brunt of my descent. I collapsed onto the ground, my body racked with agony, stumbling forward with unsteady strides. But a searing pain in my hind leg made every movement an ordeal. My leg was shattered, my body riddled with injuries, and to make matters worse, I was starving. Even if no predator were to find me, I would surely perish from hunger in this place. Just then, a purple-scaled snake slithered past my line of sight. It was marked with crimson stripes, and was roughly the size of a palm. Within my ancestral memories, there was no information regarding such a creature. I knew not if it was edible, yet I had no other choice remaining. I had no alternative but to swallow it in one gulp. Only then could I hope to survive. The taste of the serpent was foul, yet I forced myself to swallow it down. A warm current surged through my body, the energy radiating from the creature mending my right leg. My other wounds began to knit together at a speed visible to the naked eye. I was able to stand and move once more. With this, I could hunt other creatures to sate my hunger. But as I took a single step, a bone-deep agony flared in my right leg. The pain was so intense it nearly rendered me unconscious. Strange, discordant sounds began to echo in my ears. I realized then that I had been poisoned. I struggled to support my failing body, dragging myself toward a nearby marsh. Along the way, I collapsed, time and time again. Yet I remembered my father's icy gaze, the memory of my mother casting me into the abyss, and the look of disdain on my brother's face. These memories fueled my resolve, driving me to rise again and again as I crawled toward the marsh. I knew then that salvation was within reach. This is the spring of life. One only needs to drink its water to purge all toxins. Yet, I could not hold on long enough to reach the spring. I collapsed to the ground, my fingers brushing against the water, my eyes filled with bitter unwillingness. Detestable. To fall short by a single step. When I regained consciousness, the sky had already darkened, and I was still alive. I sensed that the agony racking my body had vanished. I attempted to stand and discovered that I had grown taller. I approached the spring of life, intent on drinking, only to find the pool had long since dried up. Left with no choice, I wandered aimlessly into the darkness. It was only after traveling several dozen kilometers that I spotted the tracks of other magical beasts. It was a herd of horned demon deer. I followed the trail of their footprints. A herd of this size must surely have a fixed water source. Before long, I discovered a small river. The 7 horned demon deer were drinking by the riverbank. The leader of the herd scanned its surroundings, remaining vigilant against potential threats. Within this pack, only the leader was a peak rank, one magical beast. The others had only just stepped into the threshold of demon beast status. I crept through the tall grass toward the riverbank, striving to avoid alerting the herd. I intended to replenish my water supply before seizing the opportunity to hunt one to satisfy my hunger. As I reached the riverbank to drink, the river reflected my own form, and the golden hue that once characterized me had vanished. In its place was a body of deep, purplish-black. A few red stripes covered my right leg, and upon my right arm was a faint, light blue sigil. What has become of me? But I had no time to ponder such things, for the horned demon deer had already begun to move elsewhere. I gulped down several mouthfuls of river water and rushed headlong toward the herd. I lunged at the horned demon deer, trailing at the back. It was a doe, possessing no antlers upon its head. I bit down hard upon its neck, but my body was too small. I could not fully pierce its windpipe, causing it to let out a sharp cry. This cry immediately drew the attention of the entire herd. The hooves of the horned demon deer leader began to glow with a brilliant white light. A moment later, a blade of wind shot toward me. I hurriedly released the magic horned deer I had been biting and scrambled away from my original position. The magic horned deer, wounded by my bite, began to emit a red heat from its injury before struggling and collapsing to the ground. I did not understand what was happening. This was not an ability I possessed. The leader of the magic horned deer continued to stare at me, its eyes filled with such fury that it seemed intent on tearing me to shreds. Its hooves glowed incessantly with white light, launching successive blades of wind at me. I could not dodge them in time. A blade sliced into my arm. Already exhausted from hunger, the wound was not deep, but the blood flowed without restraint. I had to find a way to recover my strength if I were to have any hope of contending with it. I instantly resolved to lunge toward the carcass, tearing off a large chunk of meat and swallowing it whole without even chewing. My body regained a sliver of energy, and the wound began to knit together, though the sensation of healing was entirely different from before. This time, there was a faint chill, as if I had been submerged in a cold mountain spring. I had no time to ponder the changes in my body, for the leader of the magic horned deer had unleashed several more wind blades. After narrowly evading them, I charged straight toward it. The leader lowered its head, aiming its razor-sharp antlers and rushing directly at me. Its speed was so immense that I could not react in time. I was sent flying by the impact of its antlers, slamming into a large boulder and collapsing in a daze. The leader of the magic horned deer swiftly closed the distance. Those antlers brought with them an overwhelming sensation of impending death. Just as it prepared to finish me, the sound of thunder suddenly erupted. Immediately afterward, a bolt of lightning struck, incinerating the entire herd of magic horned deer. The ground trembled violently, and I felt a powerful, surging aura rapidly approaching. I looked toward the source of the commotion and saw sparks of electricity flickering in the deep forest as a pair of massive eyes suddenly emerged. I realized the creature that had arrived was a mature thunderfoot dragon, a species of subdragon. It is renowned for its ferocious offensive power and stands as a peak combatant among the dragonkin. It is over. I am surely destined to perish. I closed my eyes in despair. But after a moment, I felt none of the agony I had anticipated. Confused, I opened my eyes to see that the colossal thunderfoot dragon was not attacking me. Instead, it was sniffing my body with curiosity. The electrical discharge organs upon its back had retracted. I could sense that it was feeling a degree of bewilderment. Although sub-dragons possess formidable combat prowess, their intellect remains limited. Perhaps it had mistaken my aura for that of its own kind. It slowly began to retreat. At that moment, my stomach growled, and the thunderfoot dragon, the horned deer nearby, placed the leader of the herd directly before me. A faint sound echoed within my mind. It was from the thunderfoot dragon standing before me. Very well. Without a moment's hesitation, I opened my maw and rapidly consumed the offering before me. My wounds began to mend, my stamina gradually returned, and for the first time in many days, I felt the sensation of being full. Before long, the magic horned deer had been completely devoured. I drifted into a hazy slumber. I had not rested for even a single moment over the past few days. Now that I was satiated, a wave of drowsiness washed over me. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself inside a cavern. Beneath me lay a small nest constructed of dried grass. Beside me, 2 young thunderfoot dragons were playing. Their bodies were only slightly larger than my own. The thunderfoot dragon that had brought me here was nowhere to be seen. I stood up, and the 2 young dragons immediately took notice of me. They approached, gazing at me with inquisitive eyes, as if curious about my origins. The bolder of the 2 swayed its body. The electrical discharge organ on its back sparked with lightning. Seeing this, the other one followed suit. Sparks shimmered across their backs, and they looked toward me, their faces filled with anticipation. I pondered to myself, surely this must be their unique way of greeting. But I was no thunderfoot dragon. I could not discharge electricity to respond in kind. At that moment, the call of the dragon mother echoed from outside the cave. Hearing her, the 2 young dragons joyfully scrambled outside. I was left in a state of bewilderment. One of the young dragons returned to my side, tugging at my clothes with its mouth, seemingly urging me to follow. Upon exiting the cave, I saw the carcass of an earth elephant lying outside. The 2 young dragons stepped forward and began to feast upon the meal. At that moment, my own stomach let out a rumble. Stealing my nerves, I approached and began to eat as well. Once full, the 2 young dragons resumed their play. As for me, I took the time to sense the power flowing within my body. It was then that I noticed thin, white patterns manifesting upon my underdeveloped wings. I recalled the serpent I had consumed when I first arrived in this place. It was a creature previously absent from any known records. The markings upon my legs were identical to the patterns upon the small serpent's back. It was truly difficult to believe, yet there remained no clues regarding the origin of these markings. After several days within the cavern, I felt the warmth of family for the first time. The mother thunder-footed dragon cherished us deeply, venturing out each day to hunt for food herself. The young thunder-footed dragons would spend each day frolicking by my side. Every few days, the mother would impart various survival skills upon us. Today was the day we were to venture out for training. Upon leaving our home, I looked up at the sky. Though there was no sun, it was as bright as day. This was the unique characteristic of this subterranean city. I constantly scanned my surroundings, noticing several demonic beasts deep in the forest watching us. However, they feared the peak third-order strength of the mother thunder-footed dragon and dared not act recklessly. The mother led us to the edge of a river, where a dense school of fish could be seen swimming below the surface. This species was known as the flesh-eating fish. Individually, they were quite weak, but should one fall into the water carelessly, even a massive creature like a thunder-footed dragon would be devoured in an instant. Since these fish could not come ashore, they were perfect targets for the young thunder-footed dragons to practice their lightning abilities. The 2 young thunder-footed dragons attempted to discharge bolts of lightning into the water. Yet, The results were minimal. Sparks of electricity flickered along the mother's back. Countless bolts of energy converged into a massive pillar of lightning behind her, which she unleashed into the water. Innumerable flesh-eating fish were instantly electrocuted and floated to the surface. The two little ones followed suit, finally succeeding in striking the water's surface. A few flesh-eating fish that dared to break the surface were struck by the lightning. Seeing that their attacks were effective, the young thunder-footed dragons leaped for joy. But at that very moment, I heard a sound in the distance, reminiscent of a rising tide. I gazed toward the water, but aside from the leaping fish, there was no other sound to be found. Thus, there was only one possibility. It was one of the most terrifying predators of the subterranean city, a swarm of army ants. The mother thunder-footed dragon immediately grew vigilant. She called the three of us to her side, the electrical organ upon her back illuminated, forging a protective ring of lightning around us. A black tide surged toward us from the distance. Looking closely, one would realize that this was, in fact, a mass of ants the size of fingers. Truly, an army of them. Each individual army ant possessed only the strength of a first-order demonic beast, but they numbered in the millions. Fortunately, the electrical perimeter kept the army ants at bay. Those that touched the electrical field were reduced to dust, yet others immediately swarmed to take their place. I had initially assumed the army ants would retreat if they could not breach our defenses, but to my surprise, it seemed they had locked onto us. Hundreds of thousands of them began using their own bodies to stack into a towering mountain of ants, intending to launch an assault from above. Upon realizing their intent, the mother thunderfoot dragon began consuming more of her stamina. She transformed the lightning into a protective barrier, and the attacking ants were electrocuted one by one, yet they did not relent. Continuing in this manner was not a sustainable strategy. The mother thunderfoot dragon's stamina would eventually be depleted, and once that happened, only death awaited us. I had to find a way to break the encirclement. The two young thunderfoot dragons also channeled lightning to strike at the army ants. I suddenly remembered the magic horned deer I had devoured earlier. I looked at the crimson patterns manifested on my right leg and attempted to channel energy into the sigils, letting out a roar as I lunged forward, exhaling a torrent of flame dozens of meters long from my maw. The army ants caught within the blast were incinerated, carving a path through the vast swarm. Seeing this, the mother thunderfoot dragon led us through the breach, fleeing toward our home. In the 3 months following our encounter with the ant swarm, I thoroughly researched my own capabilities. I possess the ability to devour other creatures. By consuming them, I can acquire the innate talents of those beasts. This is not a bloodline ability. My only true bloodline ability is the strength of the golden divine dragon. This is likely a beast-taming skill that I have awakened. With this ability, I can rapidly increase my power. Over these past 3 months, I have devoured numerous creatures in the vicinity, but their abilities were mostly centered around brute strength and were of no real use to me. Currently, my body has grown to nearly 2 meters in length. Although my physical size has not increased significantly, my other attributes have undergone massive changes. My wings are now capable of allowing me to take flight for short durations. The color of my scales has also become much deeper. I gazed up at the overcast sky. In recent days, the wild beasts appearing around us have... There is only one explanation. This place has been claimed by a more formidable predator. Even the mother thunderfoot dragon seems restless and anxious. We are currently resting within the cave. A wolf, covered in blood and grievous wounds, has retreated into the cavern. Its eye has been struck by something unknown, the wound so deep that white bone is visible. It stares intensely at the mother thunderfoot dragon, like a tiger stalking its prey. This is a 4th-rank fierce flame wolf, though it is unclear what could have wounded it so severely. While fleeing, it has blundered directly into our sanctuary. This apex predator, which once dominated the region, has fallen from grace. Now, it appears as wretched as a stray dog. The fierce flame wolf, gripped by panic, condenses flames within its jaws and lunges toward the mother thunderfoot dragon. At such close proximity, the mother thunderfoot dragon cannot discharge its lightning in time, and is forced to fight with its physical strength, sustaining 4 puncture wounds from the wolf's fangs. The mother thunderfoot dragon lets out a roar of agony. It swipes a claw at the fierce flame wolf, carving several fresh wounds into the beast's body. 2 young thunderfoot dragons hide in the back, trembling with fear. I continue to monitor the battlefield closely. Should the mother thunderfoot dragon fall, we would have no chance of survival. I urge my windblades to strike at the fierce flame wolf's eyes. It fails to notice my intervention. Struck by the force of the blow, its body is paralyzed by agony and unable to move. Seeing this, the mother thunderfoot dragon unleashes a bolt of lightning at the fierce flame wolf. It strikes true, finishing the beast. The battle has concluded, yet the suffocating tension in the air only intensifies. I know that the entity hunting the fierce flame wolf is drawing near. I fix my gaze toward the cave entrance. Within the darkness, a silhouette stands over 10 meters tall. Its right hand grips a colossal axe, while its left carries the severed head of another fierce flame wolf, a companion to the one that just fell. As it approaches the cave, I see its appearance clearly, and a cold sweat instantly drenches my body. It is a minotaur, one of the few kings among the 5th-rank demonic beasts of the 60th subterranean level. It is clad in armor fashioned from the bones of an armored dragon. The giant axe in its hand is still dripping with blood. The wound on the fierce flame wolf's eye was undoubtedly caused by this very weapon. Upon seeing the minotaur, the mother thunderfoot dragon panics, realizing that this is a battle that cannot be won. It pushes aside a massive boulder deep within the cave, revealing a narrow tunnel that leads to an unknown destination. You wish to flee? Keep dreaming. With those words, he hurled the wolf's head he held in his hand. The wolf's head struck the cavern ceiling, causing a cascade of boulders that instantly sealed the narrow path. Our final route of retreat was now gone. This minotaur could actually speak. The minotaur swept his gaze across us, his eyes flashing with a predatory interest. 4 lightning dragons. Just enough to fashion into cloaks, he muttered. A chill settled deep within my heart. This monster possessed both high intelligence and formidable strength. We stood no chance of victory, leaving us only the option to flee. The minotaur sat at the cave entrance, dragging the carcass of the blazing wolf toward him with his massive axe. The blazing wolf's corpse had not yet gone cold, and as the minotaur dropped his massive axe to the ground, he tore off a wolf leg and began to chew ravenously. Even as he ate, his gaze remained fixed upon us, where we hid deep within the shadows. His eyes held nothing but the amusement of a predator toying with its prey. The 2 young thunder dragons huddled behind their mother, trembling uncontrollably. The eyes of the mother thunder dragon were brimming with absolute despair. The process of awaiting death is far more agonizing than death itself. The mother thunder dragon stood firmly, blocking our path, prepared to sacrifice her life to grant us a sliver of hope for survival. The minotaur at the cave entrance chuckled softly at the sight, utterly contemptuous of the mother thunder dragon's decision. Before long, the blazing wolf had been devoured, leaving behind only white bones, shredded flesh, and fur scattered across the ground. The minotaur picked up a handful of that fur to wipe the blood from his axe. He hoisted the massive weapon and strolled toward us with deliberate leisure. His movements were slow, yet with every step, it felt as though he were trampling upon my soul, filling me with endless dread. The mother thunder dragon roared fiercely at the minotaur. It was the most piercing, desperate cry I have ever heard. The minotaur's eyes were filled with nothing but disdain. The organ on the back of the mother thunder dragon began to hum and vibrate. Thunderous echoes reverberated throughout the entire cavern. A massive pillar of lightning struck down toward the minotaur. Seeing this, the minotaur did not evade, allowing the lightning to lash against his body as he simply swung his great axe forward, tearing the bolt asunder. He then lunged forward, appearing directly before the mother thunder dragon. With a massive swing, the kite blade severed the tail of the mother thunderfoot dragon. However, the fish-headed human's leg remained firmly clamped within the mother thunderfoot dragon's jaws. A low, guttural growl emanated from the throat of the mother thunderfoot dragon. I understood its intent. It was pleading with me to take the 2 young thunderfoot dragons and flee. Maddened by the pain in its leg, the fish-headed human struck its elbow violently against the back of the mother thunderfoot dragon. I roared at the 2 young thunderfoot dragons. I signaled for them to follow me. I led them in a swift sprint toward the cave entrance. Seeing us retreat, the electrical mechanism on the mother thunderfoot dragon's back surged to its maximum output, causing even the 5th-rank fish-headed human to struggle. You mad beast! With a massive hand, it grabbed hold and tore the electrical discharge device clean off the back of the mother thunderfoot dragon. Blood gushed ceaselessly from the back of the mother thunderfoot dragon, yet it refused to loosen its grip on the fish-headed human. Enraged beyond measure, the fish-headed human thrust its fingers into the eye sockets of the mother thunderfoot dragon, gouging them out entirely before delivering a crushing blow. The life of the mother thunderfoot dragon was extinguished in an instant. The creature leapt to the cave entrance, blocking our path. Its eyes were filled with unbridled contempt. You wish to escape? Dream on. With those words, it kicked me, sending me flying back into the depths of the cave. My body slammed against the wall, leaving me dazed and covered in wounds. Immediately afterward, the fish-headed human stomped down on the tail of the elder young thunderfoot dragon. The young dragon let out a cry of agony. Seeing this, the younger sibling surged with electricity, releasing a discharge toward the fish-headed human. The fish-headed human seized the opportunity, snatching the smaller one and tossing it into its maw. The body of the young dragon exploded like a ripe melon inside the fish-headed human's mouth. The sharp teeth and powerful, bulging muscles of the fish-headed human easily pulverized its prey. Fresh blood trickled from the corner of the creature's mouth, dripping onto the elder sibling. Overcome with fury at the loss of its sibling, the elder dragon pushed its back-mounted mechanism to the limit, roaring as it unleashed a torrent of electricity at the fish-headed human. The fish-headed human snatched the elder sibling and crushed it with a single, brutal motion. As the elder died instantly, I was overcome by uncontrollable rage and charged toward the fish-headed human. A roar, the true roar of a dragon, escaped my throat, followed by a torrent of flames. Yet, the flames cascading over the fish-headed human, the minotaur, kicked me away once again. I collapsed right beside the mother thunderfoot dragon. The immense force shattered my spine, leaving me unable to stand. I incessantly condensed wind blades to strike the Minotaur, but they were all blocked by the thick armor upon its body, failing to inflict even the slightest damage. The Minotaur tossed aside the lifeless body of the elder sibling. It raised its giant axe and stepped toward me. "You little creature, you go first," it growled. With that, it raised its axe high and slashed ruthlessly in my direction. At this moment, the mother Thunderfoot dragon relied on her final breath. Despite having no active electrical organs left, she still channeled lightning to strike at the Minotaur. This strike was more powerful than any lightning bolt before it. The mother Thunderfoot dragon had tapped into the power of her very magic core. The Minotaur dared not face this blow head-on and retreated. The Minotaur sat before the cave entrance, staring at us intently, as if waiting for the mother Thunderfoot dragon to perish. The mother Thunderfoot dragon slumped before me and transmitted a telepathic message. "Are they all still alive?" The ones she asked after were the 2 dragon hatchlings that had long since stopped breathing. Her eyes had been gouged out by the Minotaur. She could not see the scene before her, and my heart ached as if pierced by needles. Even in this state, she still cared only for those children. I looked at the corpses on the ground, unable to bear the truth, but after composing myself, I replied, "They are both fine, just stunned into unconsciousness." Hearing my words, the mother Thunderfoot dragon's spirit calmed. "Then that is good. Now I can rest easy." Having said this, her aura grew weaker and weaker until I could no longer sense her telepathic presence. "I know that you harbor a great secret," she whispered. "You do not belong to this underground city, and it is fine if you do not wish to reveal your secrets, but you have treated us as family. I thank you deeply." I wept, unable to hold back my sobs. "I am the one who should be thanking all of you. If not for you, I would never have survived in this underground city." The mother Thunderfoot dragon struggled to muster her remaining resolve. "Do not cry. The underground city does not believe in tears. Only those with formidable strength can survive here. I do not know what your devouring power truly is, but please, eat me." Upon hearing this, my head felt as if it had been struck by a heavy iron hammer. For a moment, my vision blurred. No, absolutely not. But the undeniable voice of the mother Thunderfoot dragon echoed in my ears once more. "Eat me, otherwise neither of us will survive. If you are able to survive, I beg you to protect them well. Take them away from this underground city, away from this hellish place." Once those words were spoken, the aura of the mother Thunderfoot dragon vanished. I looked blankly at her remains. The cave was deathly silent, while the Minotaur watched us with immense amusement, slowly savoring the younger dragon he had seized, and urged me to consume the mother Thunderfoot dragon. I could not bring myself to do it. Even though she was not my biological mother, and we were of different species, the time we spent together had cemented her place in my heart above all others, making her my true mother in every sense. Yet, Mother was right. If I did not consume her remains, I had no hope of survival. I thought of my biological parents far outside the underground city. Even after fleeing the Dragon Clan, was I still unable to escape the fate of devouring my own kind? Suppressing the intense agony in my heart, I crawled toward the body of the mother Thunderfoot dragon. "What is wrong? Do you want to eat your mother's flesh?" Its laughter was piercing and cruel. I opened my mouth and took a bite of the mother Thunderfoot dragon's flesh. Seeing this, the Minotaur laughed even louder, watching as I brought the meat to my mouth. A feeling of intense revulsion welled up within me, as if my very soul was resisting the act, but I forced myself to swallow it. Today, at any cost, I must survive. The Minotaur mocked. "That's it. Keep eating in such large gulps. Eat plenty more. Get nice and plump, so it will be easier for me to finish you off." Ha ha. I continued to swallow the flesh of the mother Thunderfoot dragon, uncontrollably. My skin began to turn an increasingly deep shade of black. Purple lightning clouds shrouded my right leg. My body continued to expand. Finally, it stopped at 4 meters in height. I ceased my consumption. My eyes were brimming with killing intent. I had now reached the 5th stage. I no longer belonged to any creature in this world. I had returned from the depths of hell, fueled solely by vengeance. I let out a deafening roar in the direction of the Minotaur. The massive sound waves engulfed the surrounding few miles. A trace of panic flickered across the Minotaur's face. I could sense the fear radiating from the very marrow of its bones. But soon, that fear was eclipsed by pure fury. "You are no mere sub-dragon. You are a true dragon. True dragons deserve to die." I simultaneously channeled the runes on both of my legs. Opening my maw, I unleashed a torrent of purple flames, searing the Minotaur's body. I then activated the white runes upon my wings. In a mere blink, I was behind the Minotaur, delivering a strike that carved 3 bone-deep wounds into its back. It let out a thunderous bellow and swung its axe toward me. I flapped my wings to retreat, yet the blade of the Minotaur's weapon still struck me, leaving a gash across my abdomen. However, in the blink of an eye, the wound vanished. I roared in fury, my claws clamping tightly onto the Minotaur's body. Lifting it high above my head, I exhaled another blast of purple flames.
These purple flames possessed not only the power of incineration, but also the corrosive properties of lightning.
This strike left the Minotaur completely charred. I threw the Minotaur aside and pressed my claws down onto its body. Why does knowing I am a true dragon fill you with such rage?
Even in the face of death, the fury in the Minotaur's eyes did not diminish.
You true dragon clans colluded with humanity, leaving us to rot in the dark, sunless abyss, while you lived in free, unfettered bliss in the city of the sky. You dare ask me why I am enraged? As it spoke, blood constantly surged from its mouth, yet it continued to hurl insults at me. I ruthlessly drove my dragon claws into its body, and I have emerged victorious against the enemy that once threatened our lives. Yet, in truth, I have lost everything. Once again, I have lost those I hold dear. I forced myself to rise and move forward, coming to a halt beside his dragon remains. Behind me, the lightning flickered, but he could no longer answer my call. I approached the side of the Thunder Peak Dragon Mother, my eyes brimming with tears. I have avenged all of you. Forgive me, for I failed to protect the others. At that moment, sharp, chilling cries echoed from outside the cave. It was a pack of Tier 2 demonic beasts known as evil soul spiders. Having scented the blood within the cavern, they swarmed toward this location in a frenzy. I unleashed a roar of unbridled fury. Terrified, the pack scattered and fled, but I knew that far more formidable creatures would soon be drawn here. I could not remain in this place any longer. Yet, should I depart, the remains within the cave would be devoured by other beasts. Thus, suppressing my grief, I was forced to consume the flesh of the Thunder Peak Dragon Mother. Following this, I approached the Minotaur and tore into its flesh as well. Upon consuming the Minotaur's flesh, a surge of heat erupted within my body. I felt the innate talent absorbed from the Minotaur, stimulating the dormant power of the Golden Divine Dragon. Two opposing energies clashed within my veins, each striving for dominance. My body felt as though it were being consumed by flames. The extreme temperature brought agonizing pain. I stumbled out of the cave, staggering toward the riverbank. I plunged into the river. The stone merfolk lurking below swarmed toward me in an instant, but they were incinerated by the heat radiating from my body before they could even draw near. Even the frigid river water could not temper the heat racking my frame. I remained parched and feverish, an unbearable torment. In the haze of my fading consciousness, I perceived a faint, cooling sensation in the distance. I followed that fragile trace of cold until I reached a secluded lake. The icy waters of the lake brought me a peace I had never known. In my delirium, I failed to sense the killing intent hidden within the depths. Two four-tiered alligator sharks were slowly closing in on me. When they were but 2 meters away, they lunged, their blood-stained maws gaping wide to tear me apart. Just as their fangs were about to strike, my body recovered, and layers of dark gold scales erupted across my skin. With a flick of my dragon tail, I sent one of the alligator sharks flying. My dragon claw gripped the remaining beast with lethal force. A purple flame erupted from my maw. Even submerged in water, the potency of this attack did not diminish in the slightest. The crocodile shark was grievously wounded by this strike. It thrashed its tail violently beneath me, desperate to break free from my suppression. Yet the awakening of the golden dragon's mineral vein granted me strength that utterly overwhelmed it. It had no way to escape my binding hold. I opened my jaws and tore into its flesh. Just like that, I devoured it completely, right there, beneath the lake. The other crocodile shark I had sent flying earlier had now returned. Seeing the lake water stained crimson with blood, it dared not approach, instead, slowly retreating. Did you think you could escape without my permission? With those words, I shot forward like an arrow, appearing before it in an instant. I opened my maw and ruthlessly tore a massive chunk of flesh from its body. The crocodile shark scrambled to retreat. I lunged forward again, unleashing a torrent of purple fire, incinerating the beast on the spot. From the depths of the abyss, a pair of purple eyes emerged, and a formidable aura locked onto me. I peered into the deep. It was a large, red-scaled creature, roughly 7 meters in length. The creature, a scarlet flying carp, possessed sharp fins and long, flowing whiskers. It surged toward me with terrifying speed. Utilizing the abilities I had just absorbed from the crocodile shark, I propelled myself from the water in a heartbeat. I stood upon the shore, staring down at the surface of the lake. The next moment, the scarlet flying carp burst from the water, spreading its wings as it charged toward me. I immediately unleashed my purple flames. Seeing this, the scarlet flying carp had no choice but to evade. My flames clung to the beast's trajectory, relentlessly searing its scales. With no other options, the scarlet flying carp was forced to dive back into the lake. Moments after it submerged, a column of water erupted from the surface, hurtling directly toward my position. I deftly shifted my body, narrowly dodging the jet of water. Its immense power carved deep craters into the riverbank. The scarlet flying carp launched itself from the water once more. I would not grant it another opportunity to return to the depths. I spread my wings and took flight, simultaneously channeling the innate white runes of the crocodile shark. My speed far eclipsed that of the scarlet flying carp. I pinned the creature down with my dragon claws, driving it onto the shore and holding it beneath me while bathing it in a relentless torrent of purple fire. Before long, the scarlet wyvern was hunted down and slaughtered. I opened my maw wide and devoured the creature whole. The white runes upon my wings grew increasingly intricate and complex. After consuming the scarlet wyvern in its entirety, my physical form swelled once more. Now reaching 5 meters in length, I had successfully achieved a breakthrough to the 5th rank. I returned to the cave to bid a final farewell to my kin. Leaving behind the place that was once my home, I stepped forth onto a path of distant, inevitable battle. I plunged into the journey of seeking an exit for 3 days and nights, yet I found not a single clue. It was not until I reached a small lake that I discovered the remnants of a campfire. The demonic beasts of the underground city have no need for fire, so those who left these ashes could only be human. I was struck by an involuntary surge of fear and confusion. While the demonic beasts of the underground possess only raw power, humanity wields both intellect and strength. They are the adversary I least wish to confront this early in my journey. Yet, it is impossible for humans to remain within the underground city for any extended duration. If I simply follow their tracks, I will undoubtedly discover the path, the means to escape this place. I pursued the trail they left behind, tracking them closely. In the end, I discovered they had arrived at that very cave. I concealed myself not far from their position to observe them in secret. This human party consisted of 6 members in total. They stood outside the cave, engaged in a heated discussion. Among them, a female ranger sniffed the air incessantly. Then, she pointed directly toward the cave entrance. Within this very cave, there is the scent of depleted magic power and a lingering, potent aura of death. Our mission is to collect the horn of the magic antler deer. Let us not invite unnecessary trouble. If the creature inside has already departed, I believe it would be worth our while to investigate. If there are remains inside containing valuable materials, it would allow us to linger on the surface for a while longer. The bounty from the magic antler deer's horn is enough for us to rest for 3 months. I cannot shake the feeling that this place is ominous. HMPH. Our expedition party consists entirely of elite-ranked adventurers. In this 60th level of the underground city, aside from that 5th-ranked demonic beast, who else could possibly challenge us? As a berserker, why are you being so cowardly and timid?
Hearing this, the masked man fell silent for a moment, his gaze fixed upon.
As the captain and a holy knight, he possessed a keen intuition capable of sensing danger. He began to survey the cave to determine if any threats lurked within. The holy knight remained silent for a moment, while a radiant glow emanated from his body. The cave itself is clear of immediate danger, yet I sense a looming threat approaching from other directions. If we intend to investigate, we must act with haste.
Hearing this, the 6-member party stepped into the cavern.
Upon entering, the mage immediately caught sight of 2 massive skeletons. Looking toward the 10-meter-long minotaur remains, his eyes widened. They were the remains of a rank 5 magical beast, a minotaur. To think that even a rank 5 magical beast has fallen here. The one capable of slaying such a beast must possess extraordinary strength, likely another magical beast of the 5th rank. This is not something we can contend with. We must withdraw from the underground city immediately and report this to the adventurers guild at once. Observing the wound on the minotaur's shoulder, the mage noted that the creature responsible had 4 clawed limbs and possessed immense, overwhelming power. This creature is, in all likelihood, a true dragon. Upon hearing this, terror filled the eyes of everyone present. A true dragon? But are they not all confined to the Sky City? Why would one appear in these underground ruins?
The priest shook his head, his expression grim.
This dragon has likely just reached the peak of the 4th rank, yet it exerts a bloodline suppression over other magical beasts, which, combined with the Minotaur's prior injuries, provided the opportunity for it to emerge victorious. Hearing this, a flicker of burning greed ignited in the mage's eyes. We can attempt to seize this opportunity. A true dragon does not exert bloodline suppression over us. In our eyes, it is only slightly stronger than a standard rank 4 beast. Slaying this dragon should not be an impossible task. The mage turned his gaze toward the holy knight. If we can truly slay this dragon, our descendants will never need to risk their lives in this underground city again. The holy knight fell into deep contemplation. After a long moment, the holy knight spoke. We can attempt this, but I must have the consent of every member here. If even one person objects, we are obligated to withdraw immediately.
Hearing this, everyone turned their eyes toward the masked man.
The masked man weighed the situation. Though he was reluctant to risk his life, the potential rewards stirred his heart. After lengthy deliberation, he reached his decision. If we truly succeed, then this life of mine will have been worth it. The ranger also signaled his approval. Finally, Everyone turned their gaze toward the logistics officer, who had remained silent until now. The logistics officer carries our supplies. There is enough to sustain us in the underground city for at least 3 months. The Holy Knight was incredibly cautious, establishing a set of rules with the others. If you discover my tracks before encountering the magic horned deer, hunt me down. Otherwise, we depart from the underground city. I had no interest in their schemes. Once their true identities were revealed, I shifted my role from the hunted to the hunter. The group's resources were entirely in the possession of the logistics officer. If I eliminate the logistics officer, they will be forced to retreat from the underground city, and I can tail them to find the exit. After leaving the underground city, I observed them for several days and discovered they followed a specific combat formation. The Holy Knight and the Ranger took the vanguard positions of the squad.
The priest and the masked man traveled at the center of the formation.
The logistics officer and the mage brought up the rear. When the Ranger in the front detects an enemy, the Holy Knight advances to suppress them. The masked man assists by launching attacks from behind the priest. The priest provides healing and buffs for the two of them. The mage prepares to chant their incantations.
The Ranger then falls back to the rear of the formation to protect the mage and the logistics officer.
It was an incredibly tight strategy, yet it possessed a fatal flaw. Once the Ranger is unable to neutralize a threat from behind, the mage, caught in the midst of chanting, and the priest, who lacks combat prowess, are left with no choice but to await their demise.
During these days of observation, I became intimately familiar with the signature skills of everyone, save for the logistics officer.
I lured a pack of magic horned deer toward the path they were forced to take.
As expected, upon seeing the herd, they immediately halted their advance. They did not underestimate the threat for a moment,
moving quickly to maintain their established formation. The magic horned deer fell one after another under their onslaught, but what they did not realize was that they, too, were being viewed as prey by a hunter lurking in the shadows. The Ranger, perched in a tree, remained vigilant, his hand gripping his bow. A sound from the distant brush caught the Ranger's attention.
With a fluid, practiced motion, he drew his bow and released an arrow, which tore through the tall grass.
The Ranger then leaped down from the tree to investigate what had been hiding in the brush. As his feet touched the ground, a sudden chill raced down his spine.
He turned his head to the right, his eyes locking with a pair of piercing golden eyes. Before the Ranger could even utter a sound, my dragon claw pierced through his throat, ending his life in the dark of the night. The pale moonlight shone down upon his corpse. His unclosed eyes were filled with absolute terror,
as if he could not comprehend how I had closed the distance without making a single sound. I took a step toward the remaining 5 individuals. The battle involving the 3 in the front had yet to conclude, even with the support of their cleric. As for the 2 facing the herd of horned deer in full combat, victory was merely a matter of time. The mage sat idly on the ground in the rear, watching the scout dismantle the magical deer. Mage, tell me, where exactly could that dragon have gone? The underground city is clearly not that vast. Why can we find no traces of it? The scout did not pause his movements, yet he still replied, the scout does not know. However, all true dragons in this world should reside in the city in the sky. This place is truly bizarre. Even the mere rumor of a true dragon appearing in the underground city is beyond value. The mage's face betrayed his clear unwillingness to give up. Mage, why did we not cross paths with it? It is truly a pity. Seeing this, the scout ceased his work and spoke solemnly to the mage. You have already established the rules. Do not dwell on it any further. Not encountering it is not necessarily a bad thing. The mage, hearing this, grew somewhat impatient. Mage, yes. Then, as if realizing something, his face flushed slightly. Mage, after we return this time, would you like to join me for a drink at the Minotaur's Tavern? The scout smiled as he looked toward the mage, his mouth opening, just about to speak. A dark shadow streaked across his face. The scout, who had been conversing with the mage, was transformed into a headless corpse. Witnessing this, the mage stood frozen in place, his eyes filled with disbelief. I carried the scout's severed head and stepped slowly out from the shadows. What is wrong? Were you not very eager to meet? The mage gazed at the 5-meter-tall golden-scaled dragon before him, his eyes overflowing with terror. I approached him, step by steady step. The mage let out a shrill, piercing scream. This harrowing cry drew the attention of the 3 individuals fighting just ahead. I stepped forward and crushed the corpse beneath my foot, destroying his remains along with the magical luggage he carried. Following that, I retreated into the shadows. The masked man was the first to rush back to the mage's side. He found the mage sitting slumped on the ground, staring blankly ahead, his finger trembling as he pointed toward the forest. Beside him lay a pool of blood from the fallen mage. What happened? The mage's face remained frozen in an expression of absolute horror. A dragon. A dragon that can speak, the mage stammered. Upon hearing this, the masked man stood stunned, rooted to the spot. The Holy Knight and the priest, having just arrived, felt the blood drain from their faces. A Holy Knight-level beast. It is a 5th-stage true dragon. This is not an opponent we can hope to withstand. Everyone, retreat immediately toward the entrance of the underground city, If we can reach the guardian guards, we might yet survive."
Hearing this, the group turned and fled toward the north.
I pursued them relentlessly, refusing to let them slip away.
Before long, the priest lagged behind the others.
I reached out and casually seized the priest, opting not to pursue him further, but instead silently tracking the remaining survivors from a distance. 5 days later, they reached the foot of a mountain, which marked one of the boundaries of the 60th level. The Holy Knight produced a jade command plate, and a massive magic formation lit up upon the cliff face. Seeing this, I no longer concealed myself, and immediately unleashed a torrent of dragonfire.
The masked man failed to dodge in time, and was instantly incinerated by my flames.
The mage had half his body charred, but both of them scrambled frantically into the teleportation portal. Utilizing my innate ability of devouring, I surged into the portal like an arrow, slicing the mage in two. The Holy Knight made a final desperate dash toward the large gates nearby. Once inside, he collapsed onto the threshold, gasping for air. From within those gates, 2 immensely powerful auras erupted, accompanied by thunderous echoes. 2 colossal silhouettes emerged before the gate, and at that moment, I realized exactly what those 2 auras were.
They were 2 stone statues, standing 20 meters tall.
The stone statues gripped their great swords tightly, glaring at me with chilling intent. Their eye sockets were inlaid with 2 rubies. These served as the source of power for these 2 statues. They were magical constructs.
"Stone statues, leave this place at once.
Otherwise, you shall be destroyed." I gazed coldly at the 2 statues. These were the guardian sentinels the Holy Knight had spoken of. The 2 guardians stood before me, one black, one white.
Each statue possessed the strength of a peak Tier 5 cultivator, and was crafted specifically to prevent magical beasts from escaping.
And I had only just crossed the threshold into the Tier 5 realm. The suppression effect of the true dragon had absolutely no impact on magical constructs.
Seeing that I had no intention of retreating, the red light within the rubies of the white sentinel flared intensely.
It raised its longsword and swung it heavily toward me. Despite their colossal size, the speed of these sentinels was not to be underestimated. I exerted all my strength to accelerate, barely managing to dodge the strike. As soon as I landed, the attack from the black sentinel descended upon me. I hurriedly activated my runes and my devouring talent to widen the distance between us. Seeing me retreat, they raised their longswords and charged forward. I opened my mouth, exhaling a torrent of purple flames. The black sentinel simply cleaved the fire in 2. The white sentinel leapt into the air, descending with a sword strike aimed directly at me. I took flight to evade the blow, but the sentinel's sword still clipped me, sending me crashing into the distance. "Guardian Sentinel, this is your final warning. Leave immediately." I stood up, glaring at the 2 sentinels, and unleashed another torrent of purple flames. This time, the flames struck the white sentinel squarely, yet they inflicted not a single scratch. "Guardian Sentinel, warning ineffective. Commencing elimination." Once the command was issued, the red light in the eyes of the 2 sentinels burned even brighter. They raised their swords and swung at me. I lunged forward in a blur, shattering a portion of its body, yet I could not stop its advance. It continued to swing its longsword toward me. I vaulted into the air, deflecting the white sentinel's blade upward. Momentum carried the black sentinel's sword, forcing it to strike heavily against the white sentinel. Under the force of this blow, the white sentinel was severed by more than half of its torso. I leaped, delivering a powerful kick that struck the longsword. The immense force completely shattered the white sentinel at the waist. The upper torso of the white guardian collapsed, dragging the black guardian down with it. It pinned the black guardian firmly beneath its weight. I stepped forward and pried the 2 rubies from their empty eye sockets. Deprived of their energy source, they went limp. I immediately swallowed both rubies. Upon absorbing their core essence, I gained the ability to animate inanimate matter. A gray rune manifested upon my finger. I turned my gaze toward the Holy Knight.
Perhaps the Holy Knight never expected his 2 guardians to be so easily dismantled.
I stared him down, seeing his eyes brim with uncontrollable fear. "Holy Knight, please, I beg you, spare me. If you let me go, I will never breathe a word of this to anyone." I pressed my claws against the Holy Knight's pupils and spoke coldly.
"You shall answer what I ask. If you dare utter a single falsehood, I will claim your life instantly."
The Holy Knight nodded frantically, unable to contain his tremors. This abyss-submerged city, how did it truly come to be? The Holy Knight's voice trembled. "Holy Knight, this underground city was constructed through the joint magic of the human race and the dragon race. The dragon race drove every magical beast in the world into this place to imprison them, establishing a non-aggression pact with humanity." Hearing this, I found his words difficult to believe. According to my inherited memories, this abyssal city had appeared out of thin air. The legends claimed the cooperation between the true dragons and the dragon race was initiated by humanity. Yet what I heard from the Holy Knight was that the dragon race had betrayed their allies to secure their own peace. I struck the Holy Knight down, retrieving the gateway access token from his remains, along with a map of the subterranean city. The map contained detailed notes and cautionary warnings for every level. I also learned that every 10 levels, 2 guardians are stationed at the gateway to prevent magical beasts from escaping. At the very top of the map, a small line of red text read, "The Eastern Desert of the 55th level. A hive insect has achieved a Tier 6 breakthrough. The Adventurers Guild is currently addressing the situation. All adventurers are requested to avoid the area." A Tier 6 hive insect. This is quite intriguing. If I consume its flesh, I might just break through to the 6th tier myself. Over the following days, I ascended continuously through the upper levels of the underground city. I thoroughly purged every adventure. I ascended to the 55th level and proceeded to fly steadily toward the east. It was not long before I beheld a bottomless black abyss, from which a faint, rustling sound emanated. After descending nearly 100 meters, I finally reached the floor of the pit. It was a vast, perfectly flat expanse of sand. However, the rustling movement beneath the surface served as a grim reminder that this desert was far more treacherous than it appeared. Before long, the ground about 50 meters away began to heave, and a cloud of sand and dust billowed upward, obscuring the very sky. Refusing to let my guard down, I immediately unleashed a stream of violet flames toward the rising mound. A wall of sand, standing over 100 meters high, surged upward, effectively blocking my flames before a maw as wide as a chasm erupted from the sandy barrier, snapping toward me with manic ferocity. I soared high into the air as the sandworm struck, missing its mark and retreating once more beneath the dunes. A voice filled with pure indignation resonated in my ears. "Qianlong, do you truly dare to deliver yourself to your own grave? Today, I shall ensure your demise." Countless stones and grains of sand swirled across the desert, launching a synchronized assault from every angle. The sandworm showed signs of surfacing as the sand around the sinkhole began to loosen. I effortlessly evaded the barrage of debris and dove directly toward the center of the shifting sands. At that very moment, a colossal shadow loomed behind me. It was the sandworm. It was launching a surprise attack from my blind spot. Simultaneously, the creature's wrathful voice boomed once again. "Sandworm, Qianlong, prepare to forfeit your life." As it spoke, that gargantuan mouth opened wide, as if intent on consuming me whole. I turned sharply, unleashing a continuous torrent of violet flames. Initially, the sandworm attempted to endure the searing heat as it lunged toward me, but as the intensity of the flames intensified, the creature was overcome by agony and forced to retreat beneath the sands once more. I surged toward the heavens, observing the creature's fury. The Qianlong clan has truly betrayed their allies to seek their own glory. Suddenly, an anomaly manifested in the sky as winds began to howl and clouds gathered. Before long, a violent sandstorm materialized, sweeping countless grains of dust into the air with gale force intensity. The sandworm erupted from the very eye of the storm. Only then could I clearly perceive the beast's true form. Its gray, elongated body was armored in a thick, jagged layer of scales. It possessed no eyes, and its entire front was dominated by a cavernous maw, over 10 meters in diameter. The violent sandstorm was being generated by the lunges and breathing of this giant sandworm. The sandworm launched itself toward the sky, lunging directly at me. The powerful gale of sand also shifted, surging in my direction. That gargantuan mouth bore down on me relentlessly, while the sandstorm shackled my movements, preventing me from escaping with speed. In the very moment the sandworm reached us, I unleashed a torrent of violet flames downward. The recoil and my existing momentum allowed me to barely evade the danger, but the violet flames were swept straight into the creature's maw by the sandstorm. The sandworm retreated once more, concealing itself beneath the dunes. I said, "I believe we could have a civilized conversation. I wish to inquire about a few matters," but before I could finish my sentence, a deafening roar erupted from the sandworm. "Sandworm, there is nothing to discuss between me and the True Dragon Clan. You ungrateful wretches should simply perish." It lashed out once again, unleashing a sandstorm vortex. This time the vortex was twice as large as the one before. I channeled every ounce of my power, pouring my violet flames directly into the heart of the vortex. The sand vortex spiraled, engulfing all of the violet flames before the sandworm drew the entire mass straight into its body. The sandworm let out a shriek of agonizing pain. The sandworms of the True Dragon Clan are indeed as cunning as they say. It thrashed about violently for a few moments, then fell deathly still. I had successfully eradicated this rank 6 demonic beast. Yet there was no joy to be found on my face. I approached the carcass of the sandworm, tore off a piece of its flesh, and swallowed it. The sandworm had granted me a devouring ability, the very vortex technique the creature had just wielded. I poured all my strength into catalyzing this newfound power. The entire remains of the sandworm were consumed by me. A colossal surge of energy swept through every fiber of my being. My body continued to swell and expand, reaching nearly 10 meters in height. The dark golden scales upon my body grew increasingly lustrous. I had successfully achieved my breakthrough to rank 6. Following this breakthrough, my sensory perception was vastly enhanced. I could feel them, approximately 600 meters from this sand dune. A group of humans was approaching, numbering around 200. They did not resemble the band of adventurers I had encountered before. They were a well-trained army, equipped with advanced gear. I tilted my head to the sky and let out a long, piercing howl. The ear-splitting sound immediately put the human army on high alert. I spread my wings and soared toward the approaching army. Upon reaching a distance of 200 meters, I unleashed a torrent of violet flames. The immense heat of the fire caused the surrounding air temperature to rise drastically. The mages within the ranks reacted with remarkable speed, instantly conjuring a massive wall of water, successfully halting the flames as thick steam billowed forth from collision, obscuring their line of sight. Within the shroud of mist, I activated my devouring ability. A powerful vortex swept up dozens of men at the front of the formation, drawing them entirely into my maw. As the steam dissipated, the remaining soldiers caught sight of me, their faces twisted in absolute terror. A mage and a true dragon. Why would a true dragon exist within the underground city?
Go to the underworld and wait. I shall send every dragon from Sky City down there to answer your questions personally.
I immediately exhaled another blast of violet fire.
The overwhelming flames incinerated dozens of men instantly.
The mage attempted to manifest another water wall, but I intensified my flames, vaporizing the barrier in an instant. The unstoppable inferno consumed more than half of the remaining force. A holy knight stepped in front of the mage, erecting a massive golden shield to protect him from harm. The mage stroked his beard, his face contorted in a display of fanatical excitement. In my lifetime, I have slain countless high-level magical beasts, but my singular desire has always been to slay a true dragon. I must thank you for allowing me to fulfill this ambition. Having spoken, a vast amount of magical power began to condense around the mage. Even in this arid environment, he was able to manifest his power.
Several water dragons, dozens of meters in length, surged toward me.
I released another torrent of violet flame, combining it with my devouring ability to forge a violet fire vortex hundreds of meters high,
dragging those water constructs into its core,
while the ensuing tempest swallowed the last of the survivors. The mage, shielded by the holy knight, remained unscathed. I crushed the holy knight and strode toward the mage. In his eyes, the arrogance from before had vanished, replaced only by an infinite, hollow dread. You. Tell me, what exactly is the covenant between the human race and the true dragons?
The mage stared at me, his expression shifting to,
Mage, it turns out you are a discarded true dragon. I shall hide nothing from you. We once held a pact with the dragon race to coexist in peace, but the population of the dragon race must be kept under control.
Therefore, the dragon race retains only the eggs of superior quality,
while those of inferior quality are discarded without hesitation. The mage looked at me with an expression of intense curiosity. This mage possessed a pair of true dragon feet in a cage, while nearby, several adventurers were greedily feasting on the meat of a subdragon.
Scattered beside them were subdragon eggs that had been ruined. One adventurer suddenly lifted an intact dragon egg and smashed it violently against the ground, the yolk splattering everywhere. The mother dragon in the cage rammed the bars frantically, only to be struck by the mage's barrier, leaving her stunned and wailing in agony. An alchemist nearby began dissecting the earth dragon's body to harvest its essence. The alchemist was right. When a subdragon is provoked like this, the true dragon bloodline within its essence is activated, making it easier to refine. The man who had just smashed the egg approached the alchemist with a face full of greed. Once we have mastered this method, I am certain we shall monopolize the trade.
When that day comes, we shall be incredibly wealthy. The members of the dragon hunting guild nearby began to mock the earth dragon. Member 1. If the strength of this sub-dragon is so pathetic, how powerful could a true dragon possibly be? In my opinion, we should strike directly at Heaven City and slaughter every last one of those true dragons. Member 2. You speak the truth. Those trash true dragons hiding in the sky are no different from insects. If a true dragon were to appear before me, I would cleave it in two with a single blow of my hammer. I stared at the earth dragon in the cage, remembering the mother's call. My heart felt as if it were being torn apart. I stepped out from the shadows and into the midst of the dragon hunting guild, exhaling a breath of violet flames that instantly incinerated the alchemist and the adventurer. The faces of the remaining members were filled with overwhelming terror. Member 2. What are you? My eyes were filled with killing intent as I glared at him. Did you not wish to encounter a true dragon? I have arrived. Without a second glance at his terror, I crushed him into a pulp with a single strike, then proceeded to slaughter every remaining member of the guild. I opened the cage, squeezed a drop of essence from my palm, and fed it to the earth dragon. A moment later, the earth dragon regained consciousness, its aura surging to the third rank. Take your child and leave. I shall cleanse this land of these parasites. The earth dragon bowed its head to me in gratitude, then carried the remaining intact eggs away, vanishing into the night. In the days that followed, I annihilated the entire dragon hunting guild. Level 49. I carved a path of destruction up to the 40th level, leaving not a single soul alive. I easily dispatched the guardian of the 40th level and continued my ascent. Floors 30 through 39 were entirely overrun by creatures known as Gaberlin. I soared through the air at great speed, paying no heed to these wretched beings. Yet, The Gaberlin perceived my passage as a provocation, unleashing a relentless barrage of arrows in my direction. Faced with such blatant courting of death, I saw no reason not to grant them their end. I exhaled a torrent of violet flame, an inferno that consumed the entire forest. Every Gaberlin of this tribe was reduced to ash. I pressed onward. My singular focus was to break free from this subterranean city and fulfill the legacy of the true dragon. The sheer magnitude of my power left the Gaberlin paralyzed, unable to act. Led by their king, they trailed in my wake. It appeared they were well aware of my intention to escape the depths. After effortlessly subduing the stone gargoyle on the 30th floor, I carved a path of destruction all the way to the 10th. The 10th floor was occupied primarily by feral beasts that had escaped the demonic seals. And at the gateway of the 10th floor, I finally confronted the Forbidden King. He wore a crown of stone, seated rigidly upon a colossal throne of rock. Sensing my presence, the Forbidden King rose from his seat. In his grasp, he held a massive metallic greatsword, intricately etched with ancient patterns. The Stone King leveled his blade, and it flared with a malevolent red light. A searing wave of sword Kuya surged toward me. I unleashed my violet flames, colliding with the sword Q in an explosion of immense energy. Without hesitation, I manifested my most potent technique. A dragon of violet fire coiled into a vortex, engulfing the Forbidden King. Yet it failed to wound him. It merely stripped away his outer shell of stone, revealing a core of brilliant, shimmering ore beneath. This mineral was exceptionally resilient, impervious to both searing heat and biting cold. My expression grew grim. The only path to victory was to excise the crystalline eyes that fueled his power. But before I could formulate a strategy, the Forbidden King lunged at me, his blade poised for the strike. His joints were masterfully crafted, allowing for maneuvers far beyond those of ordinary stone constructs. His assault was lethal, characterized by precise and deadly strikes. I was forced into a defensive retreat, constantly searching for a window to launch a counterattack. I attempted to weave magic to bind the Forbidden King, causing him to falter for a fleeting moment, though he quickly regained his composure. I could freeze time for roughly 3 seconds. Extracting both eyes at once would be difficult, so I would have to divide the task. Once more, I cast my binding magic, then surged forward at full speed toward the Forbidden King, tearing the crystal from his left eye before immediately retreating. Yet I did not expect that the time it took for him to break free from his restraints would be faster than before. As soon as he regained his mobility, he gripped me with his left hand while thrusting his greatsword directly into my body with his right. I unleashed a stream of purple flame directly into the face of the Forbidden Guard. The flames seeped into the eye sockets of the Forbidden Guard, seemingly destroying the magical structure contained within. As the Forbidden Guard collapsed to the ground, I broke free from his grasp and simultaneously pulled the blade from my body. My potent regenerative abilities quickly sealed the wound. I then immediately proceeded toward the 9th floor. Upon stepping onto the 9th floor, I discovered a lone figure standing amidst the vast grassland, an old man with a robe and an exceptionally serene expression. Old man, I did not expect you to truly be able to defeat my guard. Although you are formidable, and I truly admire your strength, you have courted far too much danger. Today, I must put an end to you right here. I let out a furious roar. Cease your babbling. Anyone who dares to block my path shall perish. Having said that, I exhaled a torrent of purple flame. The old man raised his staff, and a pillar of water manifested in mid-air. It collided with the purple flame, and both forces proved to be evenly matched. Seeing my attack rendered ineffective, I unleashed the purple flame dragon coil. The old man raised the magic staff in his hand once more. Wherever the staff pointed, walls of water continuously rose, shielding the old man within. The purple flame dragon coil could not inflict even the slightest injury upon him. I decisively abandoned the use of magic, flying directly toward the old man to deliver a crushing blow. But he parried it with steady ease. The old man unleashed a punch that sent me flying back. I spat out a mouthful of blood but quickly regained my footing. My injuries had already fully regenerated. Old man, this rate of recovery, are you the offspring of the golden divine dragon? The second child of that true dragon? To think you could survive in the underground city. Upon hearing this, I was filled with immense rage. If you are already aware, then make way at once. I intend to hack this true dragon into 10,000 pieces. I swung my claw once more, striking the old man 3 zang away. My body was instantly bound by the water, and for the first time, a look of solemnity appeared on his face. If that is the case, I cannot spare you any longer. If I allow you to escape, the covenant between us and the true dragon will be shattered. I utilized my devouring ability to break free from the water prison. As I swung my claw downward, a stone wall manifested between us. Blocking my strike, I exerted all my strength to shatter the stone barrier. Yet, the old man's figure had already vanished. Not far away, the old man began to chant incessantly. I immediately realized he was preparing a lethal technique. I instantly enveloped my entire body in purple flame. Like a cannonball, I propelled myself directly toward him. I attempted to interrupt his incantation, but it was already too late. The spell had been completed. A surging torrent of water engulfed me completely. This is the binding spell I have spent a lifetime refining to suppress the Golden Divine Dragon.
Today, I shall test its effectiveness on its offspring.
The entire 10th floor transformed into an ocean, and I was pinned to the depths by the immense water pressure. No matter how much strength I exerted, I could not ascend. Even my devouring ability was unable to break through this cage. On the contrary, I sank deeper and deeper. My eyes were filled with deep resentment and refusal to accept defeat. I was reminded of my birth parents who had abandoned me.
Their gazes flashed before my eyes. What I once thought were looks of indifference now clearly appeared as a resolve filled with love. Just as my consciousness began to fade, the voice of Mother Li Jilong echoed in my ears.
Mother Li Jilong, hold on, my child. You will certainly succeed. My two siblings, the Lei Jilong, stood by her side. The electrical organs on their backs released sparks, as if they were cheering me on. Their voices pulled my consciousness back from the brink. Waves of heat began to radiate from around my body.
The runes on my two legs merged, turning pitch black. Intricate black patterns spread across my entire body, covering my dark golden scales.
My body continued to evolve, successfully achieving a breakthrough to the 7th rank. Flames of a deep, dark purple hue radiated incessantly from my form. The sheer power of these flames caused the entire ocean to vaporize into mist. As my physical form revealed itself, I stared coldly at the old man.
Panic had become clearly etched upon his features.
Old man, have you truly broken through to the 7th rank? What has become of your body? This is not the bloodline of the Golden Divine Dragon. In a flash I appeared beside him, seizing his face with a single claw. Ever since the Dragon Clan cast me aside, I have ceased to be a Golden Divine Dragon. With those words, I crushed his skull, utilizing my devouring power to consume his remains entirely. The immense energy within his body nourished my magic, and I exhaled a torrent of purple flames. Both the potency and range of my violet flame far surpassed what I had once possessed. Upon reaching the gateway connecting the 1st and 2nd levels, a teleportation array materialized. I could faintly discern a crowd outside the array, murmuring amongst themselves. I stepped slowly into the spatial rift.
The crowd outside waited in anticipation for the triumph of the kingdom's greatest maid.
A young magician in the throng stared at the spatial gateway without blinking. He caught sight of a pair of vertical golden pupils, followed by a figure wreathed in dark purple flames.
Stricken with terror, the crowd immediately fell into chaos.
I instantly unleashed the violet flame dragon coil. Every adventurer on the 1st level was put to death. I gazed upward, beholding the true sky I had not seen for so long. Suspended in the air was a colossal floating island. I knew it to be the Sky City, the final destination where I must exact my revenge. I beat my wings to ascend, but was repelled by a restrictive barrier. This was the result of a pact between the true dragons and humanity. The true dragons had embedded their scales into these arrays. Combined with the aura of the true dragons, it ensured that no creature within the underground city dared harbor thoughts of escape. That was the true face of the abyssal beaming underground city. In exchange, the humans had agreed not to raise a hand against the true dragons. I looked at the golden scale in the sky, my eyes overflowing with unbridled wrath. I could sense the familiar resonance of my own bloodline within that fragment. That is the current sovereign of the abyss, and a clansman who shares the same lineage as I. The abyss of secret darkness? How utterly laughable.
Today, I shall show you the true wrath of the abyss. Fueled by endless hatred, I enveloped my entire body in violet flame and charged headlong into the Grand Formation.
As I drew near, that dragon scale began to flicker with streaks of golden light.
The Grand Formation operated at its maximum capacity, its overwhelming power casting the very heavens into gloom.
Amidst the thunderous roar of the skies, countless magical arrays pulsed across the Grand Formation. They lay in wait, ready to consume me the moment I made contact with the barrier. The collision between my full-force strike and the formation generated a shockwave of immense magical power. Yet the formation remained entirely unscathed. Several magical projectiles surged from the array, launching an immediate counterattack. I instantly unleashed a torrent of violet fire to neutralize these manifestations. I noticed the golden luster of the dragon scale had dimmed significantly.
Determined, I reinforced my body with violet flames once more and charged into the formation.
The hue of the dragon scale grew even more faded. I was certain that this dragon scale could not hold out much longer. I poured the entirety of my magical power into my right claw. The violet flames condensed as I swung my claw with tremendous force against the dragon scale. Break for me! With a sharp, crystalline sound, I shattered that dragon scale into fragments. The entire Grand Formation crumbled into nothingness alongside it.
Having lost their source of control, the magical energies within the formation scattered violently in every direction.
The lightning in the sky intensified. A sudden downpour descended, and the distant forest was set ablaze by the lingering flames. I gazed coldly at the Sky City hanging high above, which remained untouched by the collapsing magic. The majestic architecture gleamed brilliantly under the sunlight, blinding to the eye.
Spreading my wings, I soared toward the sky city, my violet flame burning with even greater intensity.
It finally coalesced in mid-air into a colossal dragon shadow, 400 meters in length. I slammed directly into the sky city. The titanic dragon shadow demolished half of the city's structures, sending clouds of dust and debris billowing into the air.
Standing amidst the ruins, my gaze pierced through the haze, locked firmly upon
the mastermind behind my exile into the abyssal underground city, and the ultimate culprit. My parents are both held within that place.
The great hall's gate swung open.
A silhouette stepped forth from the shadows. Upon seeing that figure, I erupted in a fit of absolute rage and spat a mouthful of purple flame, launching it directly toward him. He was none other than the current prince of the Sky City. A flash of light shimmered before him. A silver shield of brilliance manifested, intercepting the entirety of my purple flames. Beside him appeared a silver-white giant dragon. It was the Dragon Queen of the Sky City. Emerging from behind them was a colossal radiant golden dragon, the reigning Dragon Emperor. Prince? From which wasteland did a wild dragon like you crawl?
To dare trespass into the Sky City on a whim,
and to injure my kin. Today, you shall certainly perish here.
Consumed by boundless fury,
I allowed the purple flame to shroud my entire body. I snarled. Then come and finish me.
With that, my body surged forward like a cannonball, hurtling straight toward the prince. The Dragon Queen deployed her silver shield once more, bracing before the three dragons, but she had severely underestimated the power of my strike.
The light shield shattered upon contact, and a flicker of disbelief crossed the Dragon Queen's face. At that moment, a figure stepped in front of me.
With brute force, he brought my charge to a sudden halt, and the burns inflicted by my purple flame vanished in the blink of an eye.
It was the Dragon Emperor who had acted. He had effortlessly neutralized my blow. Where do you hail from, Excellency? I am the Patriarch, who commands all true dragons across this world, yet I have never laid eyes upon your kin before. If you are willing, join the Sky City, and I shall treat you as an honored guest. I bellowed. Cease your senseless prattle. Today, only one of us shall walk away alive.
Finished speaking,
I unleashed 2 blades of wind that tore toward the Dragon Emperor. The 2 wind blades left deep gashes upon his body, but they mended as quickly as they appeared.
Dragon Emperor,
you and I are both at the 7th stage. There is no need for us to fight to the death. Achieving this 7th stage cultivation was no easy feat for you. To perish at my hands would be a regrettable waste indeed. At that moment, several white blades of light flickered to life around me. It was Long Hao who struck. The light blade hit my body, carving out countless wounds. Not even a second later, the wounds vanished. Long Huang was clearly shaken by this formidable regenerative ability, his face filled with solemn gravity. Long Huang, in my memory, only the Golden Divine Dragon possesses this power of recovery. This is the exclusive, innate talent of the Golden Divine Dragon. Upon hearing this, I could no longer contain my emotions. I spewed a vortex of purple flames, directly incinerating half of the Sky City, before retreating to widen the distance between myself and the Dragon Kings. I stared at them intently, surrounded by the true dragons who had survived this catastrophe.
You forced me to endure endless suffering in the abyss of the underground city,
and you even went after my parents. Today, I demand that you pay for your blood debts in blood.
Hearing me say this, the faces of the 3 dragons showed signs of terror.
Long Huang, you are still alive? I stepped forward, and the purple flames coalesced once again around my body. What is it? Are you deeply disappointed? I struggled to survive in that hellish abyss for the sole purpose of ending your lives with my own hands today.
Panic was clearly visible on Long Huang's face.
Long Hongyang, we never intended for things to end this way. We were simply forced by circumstances. Hearing this, my eyes turned bloodshot, the veins bulging within them. Forced by circumstances? You cast aside your own kin and clan members for the sake of your so-called peace. What kind of forced circumstance is that? Do not offer me any more excuses. Finishing my words, I charged directly at Long Huang, swinging a claw down that left a bone-deep wound across his chest, followed by exhaling a breath of purple flames directly into the wound. Long Huang retreated in agony. That wound refused to heal for a long time. Around me, the purple flames gathered once more, enveloping the entire Sky City, and as it collapsed into the abyss, I unleashed the forbidden magic of the abyss's old sorcerer. In the blink of an eye, an endless sea of purple fire was birthed, drowning every true dragon within the Sky City. They struggled and thrashed in the purple flames to no avail. Instead, they only sank deeper into the depths. I stood on the edge of the abyss, gazing at the sea of fire below. Complex emotions surfaced in my heart. There was the satisfaction of having finally taken my revenge, yet also an indescribable sense of emptiness.
In the end, I led the magical beasts imprisoned in the underground city, breaking through the shackles that had confined them for a lifetime.
I restored to them the land that once belonged to them so they could live and thrive, while I was bestowed the title of Demon King,